Hello, it's MJ from Lioness Publications. We're going to continue on from the session this morning, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Iran. Now, we already talked about Iran after Israel had attacked it. And at that time, I noted that they knew they were going to be attacked, and they had made plans ahead of time. So, some of what I say here may not be surprising if you keep that in mind. Now, we already covered a great deal of this, so I'm only going to go into the new things. If you want, go back and check out that video from probably about a week and a half ago. And then we have the one from this morning also. I have 3 charts here. I have the natal chart, which has the transits, I have the progression, and I have the solar arc. So we're going to cover 3 charts, but we're not covering everything in it. Like I said, we already covered a great deal. Now, before we move into the charts, I do want to bring up something that's really important in our discussions. Iran as a civilization, or the Middle East as its many civilizations, have been around for thousands of years. So their view on how they need to react or how they should react is tempered by thousands of years of dealing with other civilizations. The United States is still young, it's still brash, it still jumps into things without thinking. And the United States may expect to see an attack within a few days. That may not happen. Iran may not feel the need to attack within a few days. It may not be for months. It may not be for a year. It's Iran's timetable to respond. So, bearing that in mind, let's talk about what we see. Well, as I noted before, one of the things that was readily apparent is that Iran probably knew they were going to be attacked because they had one configuration, Saturn and Neptune, that was trining Jupiter before they attacked. What does that mean? They had been setting things in motion back then. They had plans that they put into place. And it was to give them options. So remember that as we move through this. So they knew, and they likely knew that they were going to be bombed by Trump. Okay? So we have now on 626 Jupiter is going to be trining Venus. And that's over here. So what does that mean? Well, Jupiter is in effect the 5th house. So those are things that we like to do, but also could be children. And when you think of Iran and children, it also could be one of their creations, which is what they're doing, the nuclear enrichment. So when it's trying Venus, Venus could be, in effect, the leadership, the midheaven. Could also be the thoughts, the plans. And this is an indication that maybe there was minimal damage during the USA bombing of the facilities. Either that or enough was moved out that they could easily restart someplace else. So that's something to keep in mind as everyone is talking about, well, could take years. Try and identify exactly how much of their facility was damaged and whether anything was moved out. That's important. Now, 728, which is in a little bit more than a month, we're going to have Jupiter squaring the sun. Well, also possibly pointing to the abundance of something, the creation of things, against the sun, in effect being them. So this could also have to do with that enrichment program. But it also could mean that maybe the United States or Israel realizes that maybe they still have a great deal of capability. So what are they going to do? Maybe attack again. It's a possibility, and that would be near the end of July. Now, next thing we have is Jupiter, just right over here, is going to be moving right along, and it's going to move into the 12th house. 12th house, secret activities. So we're going to have opportunities moving into behind the scenes operations. So, next, we have Saturn is going to be going backwards, and it's going to also come back to trine Jupiter. Oops, Jupiter here, sorry. What do I suspect this is? Remember I said that they probably set things in motion to move a lot of what they needed out of that facility. And this means that they're going to start that up. So they're bringing things together around that time. Maybe they don't have a facility yet, or maybe it's not set up to run, but it will be. So they're in process to start that again. Jupiter is going to be trining Uranus. Uranus. Sometimes you think of that as explosives, but it's also in the house of home. So what is this indicating? They're probably going to be able to start enriching uranium again. It's only in a few months. But facility. So what this is indicating is they probably had a facility that was maybe being created or had to be created, and it's now in process or done. So this is all in September. So that enrichment program is not done. Whatever the United States set out to do, they didn't succeed. Now, at the beginning of November, right around November 4th, we have Saturn that's going to be coming to conjunct Mars. Saturn is, and I talk about it a lot of times as restrictions, but it's also, it can be good in that it makes us focus. It makes us set a goal. It makes us keep things in line. It makes us take the steps to get to where we need to be. When it's sitting on Mars, and let me tell you, Mars is not going to like being sat on by Saturn. But in effect, Saturn is restricting this aggression. And that's what Mars is, the acts. But is it restricting it from acting at all? Or is it trying to restrict it and make sure it has a very focused target? Or is it simply, or is Mars going to overwhelm Saturn and in effect just do this, attack all over the place? Hard to tell right now. Be a little bit more known as it comes up to that November timeframe. Now, as a note, that date, 11/4, is usually around the time we hold elections in the United States. So just to keep in mind. Now, it's not the every 2-year type election. So these would be, minor elections, throughout some of the states. Now, let's take a look at our next chart. So as a note, that aggression is something to sort of say, okay, where is this heading? Now, let's take a look at the progression. Now, what we have here, which I didn't talk about before, is the mid. The midheaven has moved and it is now, in effect, squaring Mars. So what's that indicating? Well, first off, that's right around 7/9 of this year. It looks like it's going to be a leadership change. So maybe, and I noted this before, so maybe at that time it's going to move into type of leader that could be aggressive. Right now we have a religious leader of the country. It could be that he steps down for someone else that is more on the offensive It could be someone that is more attuned to how to bring Iran through this period of time. But in general, I'm seeing a change of leadership. Not so much a regime change, but a change at the top and maybe keeping everything else in tune. It could be a regime change, but I'm not really seeing anything else around this time that says, oh, everything's going to topple. I don't see that. Now, the next thing we see is right around the end of October, 1028. And what we have then is Venus has progressed from Aries, which can be very headstrong, very quick to react, into Taurus. And that's notable. Taurus is slow to anger. Taurus, though once angered, is very angry. They also dig in their heels. They can refuse to change their mind. They are set on something, and it's like a bull. You can't deviate them. So this is an indication of where that leadership may be going. So maybe, friendly on the outside, looking like you can push them, but you can't. Now, the next thing we have is the wounded warrior will be moving up to conjunct the 10th, which is the midheaven, which is the leadership. Now, that's not happening till next year, approximately June 26th. I'm bringing that up, though, because this is an indication of maybe a change in the leadership again. It could be there's someone in place for a year to take them through this period of enriching uranium, keeping the country safe, moving it on a path, and then moving to a different type of leader that is more for what they need going forward into the future. So we could have two changes. Now let's take a look at our last chart, which is the solar. And here we're seeing something that is around 5/9, May 9th of 26. And in this case, as I noted already, it looks like we might have another regime change next year. And it's a wounded warrior type where it could be the country coming out of some type of attack. Now, this sort of reinforces it because what we have is we have Pluto, and this is squaring Venus. So, Pluto, manipulation, power. Venus is the ruler of the 10th and also the 3rd. We're concerned here with the 10th. So, square is a tense one. Indicates a change, possibly of leadership or moving up to it. So what happens is this may be the precipitating factor to actually have the change in leadership that I mentioned in the previous chart. Someone more steady, more fixed with where they need to go, someone ingrained with their beliefs. So this could be moving out the person or the leader that they had for the year during the time they're under sort of attack. So does any of this say that Iran's going to be destroyed? Not really. I mean, this here indicates more a change of, leadership internally, although it could be externally. I'd have to take a little bit more of what's going on at that time next year. And it looks like around September, Iran may be able to start enriching uranium again. And in this case, it's not something that they're not going to do. As noted, American intelligence said that they haven't moved forward with their enrichment program since about 2023. So whatever Trump and the administration has been saying seems to be a falsehood. But in this case, it won't be. Because it looks like once they get everything in place, they're going to start enriching and they're going to get something. That way, when someone comes back to them and says, we're going to bomb you, they can say, yeah, and we have a nuclear weapon now. It's unfortunate. But so far, it's not like I see a lot of attacks here on them outwardly. I see them more doing sporadic attacks, which they've always done. There may be something around the election period. But I think they're going to just be very focused on getting their program up and running again, and possibly with the help of their allies. Now, I hope you enjoy the reading. It is a little difficult because I'm saying that, well, the United States didn't make its targets here. We still have an issue. But then I personally, and again, personal opinion, I'm not sure if they were an issue to be dealt with at this time. Because, like I said, I don't think they were enriching uranium. There was no proof of it from the intelligence. So it can be debated back and forth whether they should have been attacked or bombed. So again, hope you enjoyed it and have a great rest of Sunday. Bye now.